The rain hammered against the windows of Brew Soul, a small coffee shop tucked between towering glass buildings in downtown Seattle. It was one of those gray November mornings where the city felt like it was trapped under a heavy blanket of clouds, and the smell of fresh coffee was the only warmth anyone could find. Behind the counter stood Maya Jensen, 28 years old, with tired green eyes and dark blonde hair pulled back in a messy bun. She'd been working the morning shift for 3 years now, and every day felt like a repetition of the last. The same orders, the same faces, the same struggles to make rent at the end of each month. She wiped down the espresso machine with mechanical precision, her mind elsewhere: student loans, her mother's medical bills, the eviction notice she'd received last week. Maya had stopped dreaming a long time ago. Dreams were luxuries for people who could afford them. The bell above the door chimed, and a gust of cold wind swept through the shop. Maya looked up and saw him. He was tall, probably in his early 40s, with olive skin and sharp, intelligent dark eyes. He wore an impeccably tailored charcoal suit that probably cost more than Maya made in 6 months, and his shoes gleamed despite the rain outside. But what struck Maya most was the way he carried himself, not with arrogance, but with a quiet confidence that seemed to fill the room. Behind him stood 2 men in dark suits, clearly security, who positioned themselves near the door. The man approached the counter with a slight smile. "Good morning," he said, his accent subtle but unmistakable, Middle Eastern, refined by years of international living. "Good morning. What can I get you?" Maya asked, slipping into her professional tone. He studied the menu for a moment. "Turkish coffee if you have it. If not, a double espresso will do." "We don't have Turkish coffee, but I can make you something close. Give me a few minutes." His eyebrows raised slightly, intrigued. "Please." Maya went to work, grinding beans she'd bought herself from a specialty shop, her one small indulgence. She prepared the coffee with care, using techniques she'd learned from YouTube videos late at night when she couldn't sleep. When she finished, she placed the small cup before him. He lifted it, inhaled the aroma, and took a sip. For a moment, he said nothing. Then he smiled, a genuine smile that reached his eyes. "This is excellent. You learned this yourself?" Maya shrugged. "I like coffee. Seemed worth learning to make it properly." He took another sip, then reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out his wallet. He placed a $100 bill on the counter. Maya stared at it. "Sir, the coffee is $4. "I know." He pushed the bill toward her. "The rest is for you. You took time to make something special when you didn't have to." Maya's hand hovered over the money. Then she pushed it back toward him. "I can't accept this." The man tilted his head, genuinely surprised. "Why not?" "Because I didn't do anything special. I just made coffee the way it should be made. You're paying for the coffee, not for me to do my job properly." A long silence stretched between them. The security guards shifted uncomfortably. The few other customers in the shop had stopped talking, sensing something unusual unfolding. "What's your name?" the man asked quietly. "Maya." "Maya, I'm Khalid Al-Rahman. Do you know who I am?" She shook her head. "Should I?" A flicker of something, amusement, respect, crossed his face. "No, I suppose not. But I'm curious about something. Why did you refuse the money? Most people would have taken it without a second thought." Maya met his gaze directly. "Because accepting money I didn't earn would mean I need it so badly I'd compromise my principles. And if I do that, I'm not sure who I'd become." Before we continue with what happened next, we'd love to know, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this story, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next. Trust me, you won't want to miss how this unfolds. Khalid studied her for another long moment, then carefully folded the $100 bill and put it back in his wallet. He placed a $5 bill on the counter instead, for the coffee and a generous tip. "Thank you," Maya said, ringing up the transaction. "May I sit for a while? I have some calls to make, and this seems like a good place to think." "Of course. You're a customer." Khalid settled into a corner table, and Maya returned to her work. But she felt his eyes on her occasionally throughout the morning, watching as she served other customers with the same care she'd given him, as she patiently explained drink options to an elderly man who couldn't decide, as she cleaned up a spill with a smile for the apologetic college student who'd caused it. When the morning rush finally died down around 11, Khalid approached the counter again. "Maya, may I ask you some questions?" She glanced at her manager, who was in the back office. "I have a few minutes." "You have a degree?" "Yes, business administration. Graduated 5 years ago." "And you work here?" It wasn't a question, but Maya answered anyway. "Student loans don't pay themselves. Neither do medical bills." "Your family?" "Just my mom. She has MS, multiple sclerosis. The treatments are expensive, and insurance doesn't cover everything." Khalid nodded slowly. "And yet you refused $100 that could have helped with those bills." "Like I said, I didn't earn it." "What if I told you I could offer you a job? A real job, using your degree, good salary, benefits, opportunities for advancement?" Maya's heart skipped, Then she forced herself to slow down. Why would you do that? Because I've spent the last 2 hours making phone calls and watching you work. You know what I saw? Integrity. Consistency, pride in what you do, even when what you do is undervalued. Those qualities are rare, Maya. Rarer than intelligence, rarer than education. I've built a company worth billions, and the hardest thing to find isn't talent, it's character. What kind of company? I own Al-Rahman Holdings. We have interests in real estate, technology, sustainable energy, and hospitality. I'm expanding our operations in the Pacific Northwest and need people I can trust in management positions. Maya felt dizzy. This couldn't be real. Mr. Al-Rahman, Khalid, please. Khalid, I appreciate the offer, but I don't understand. You don't know me. One conversation over coffee doesn't tell you who someone is. No, but it tells me who someone chooses to be when they think no one important is watching. That tells me everything. Maya's manager emerged from the office, and Khalid smoothly produced a business card. Think about it. My direct number is on there. Call me when you've decided. He finished his coffee, nodded to Maya, and left with his security detail. The shop felt smaller and grayer after he was gone. Maya stared at the business card for a long time. Khalid Al-Rahman, CEO, Al-Rahman Holdings. She pulled out her phone and searched his name. Her breath caught. The articles went back years. Self-made billionaire, philanthropist. Had started with a small import-export business in Dubai and built an empire worth an estimated $4.3 billion, known for unconventional hiring practices and loyalty to employees. No scandals, no controversies, just steady, ethical business growth, and he'd just offered her a job. Maya's hand trembled as she tucked the card into her apron. She didn't call that day or the next. She spent 3 sleepless nights researching Khalid and his company, looking for the catch, the hidden angle, the too-good-to-be-true trap. She found nothing. On the 4th day, she called. Mr. Al-Rahman's office. A crisp female voice answered. Hi, this is Maya Jensen. Khalid gave me his card and said to call. 1 moment, please. The hold lasted less than 10 seconds. Maya, Khalid's voice was warm. I'm glad you called. I've been thinking about your offer, and I need to understand something first. Why me? You could hire anyone. People with MBAs from Harvard, experience in corporate management. Why a barista from a coffee shop? Because I don't need another MBA who knows how to manipulate spreadsheets but has never struggled to pay rent. I need people who understand what it means to work hard for something that matters, who don't take opportunities for granted because they've never had them. I need people who will build my company with the same integrity they bring to making a $4 cup of coffee. Maya closed her eyes. What would the job be? Assistant Director of Operations for our Pacific Northwest Division. You'd start by learning every aspect of how we run our regional operations. Hotels, office buildings, sustainable energy installations, 6-month training period, full salary and benefits from day 1. After that, you'd help oversee operations and eventually manage your own projects. What's the salary? $85,000 to start, plus health insurance that would cover your mother's treatments completely. Company covers education costs if you want to pursue an MBA, and profit sharing after your first year. Maya couldn't breathe. $85,000. Her mother's treatments covered. She currently made $32,000 a year before taxes. When would you need an answer? Take your time. I'd rather you be certain than quick. Can I have until Monday? Of course. Maya hung up and immediately called her mother. Sweetheart. Her mother's voice was weak, but warm. Mom, something happened. Maya told her everything. There was a long pause. Maya, this is a gift. Don't overthink it. But what if it's not real? What if there's something wrong with it? You researched him. You found nothing wrong. Sometimes good things happen to good people, honey. Maybe it's your turn. Maya spent the weekend in agony. She called the company's HR department and verified the offer. She spoke to current employees through LinkedIn and heard nothing but positive things. She read every article, every interview, every public statement Khalid had ever made. Everything checked out. On Monday morning, she called back. I accept. Excellent. Can you start in 2 weeks? I'll need to give proper notice here, of course. Professional to the end. I'll have HR send you the paperwork. Maya gave her notice that day. Her manager was shocked, but genuinely happy for her. Her co-workers threw her a small party on her last day. And through it all, Maya felt like she was walking through a dream. 2 weeks later, she walked into the gleaming office tower that housed Al-Rahman Holdings' Seattle headquarters. She wore a new suit, her first really professional outfit, and carried a leather portfolio her mother had given her as a going-away present. The next 6 months were the hardest and most exhilarating of Maya's life. She learned supply chain management, personnel oversight, contract negotiation, sustainable building practices, and financial analysis. Khalid had assigned her a mentor, a sharp woman named Patricia, who'd been with the company for 15 years and took no nonsense but taught with patience. Maya worked 60-hour weeks. She studied at night. She made mistakes and learned from them. And slowly, she began to understand what Khalid had seen in her that rainy November morning. She didn't just work hard. She cared about the vendors they worked with, the employees under her supervision, the environmental impact of their projects, the communities they operated in. She brought the same integrity to billion-dollar deals that she'd brought to making coffee. 8 months into the job, Khalid called her into his office. "Sit, please." Maya sat, trying to read his expression. Had she done something wrong? "I have a proposition for you," Khalid said. "We're breaking ground on a new project. A sustainable mixed-use development in Portland. Residential, commercial, green spaces. It's a $300 million project, and I want you to be the project manager." Maya's heart stopped. "Sir, I've only been here 8 months. And in those 8 months, you've proven everything I believed about you." "Patricia says you're ready." "I agree. I don't have experience managing something this large. No one has experience until they do it the first time. You'll have support, of course. A full team. Consultants. Patricia will oversee. But this will be your project. Are you interested?" Maya thought about the girl who'd made coffee 18 months ago, who'd pushed back a $100 bill because accepting it felt wrong. She thought about how far she'd come, and how much farther she wanted to go. "Yes, I'm interested." "Good. We break ground in 3 months." The Portland project became Maya's life. She relocated temporarily, oversaw hundreds of workers, navigated zoning challenges and community concerns, worked with architects and engineers and city officials. There were days when she wanted to quit, nights when she cried from exhaustion and stress, but she didn't quit. She pushed through. 18 months after breaking ground, the project was completed, on time, under budget, with 0 major safety incidents and glowing reviews from the community. The grand opening was a major event. Local politicians attended. The press covered it extensively, and at the center of it all was Maya, giving the speech she'd written and rewritten a dozen times. Afterward, Khalid found her on the rooftop garden of the main building, looking out over the city. "You did it," he said simply. "We did it. I had so much support, but you led it. You made the 1,000 daily decisions that turned plans into reality. You earned this, Maya." She turned to face him. "Can I ask you something? That day in the coffee shop, did you know? Did you plan this?" Khalid smiled. "I knew I was looking for someone like you. I've made a habit of going to small businesses, coffee shops, restaurants, watching how people work when they don't think anyone important is watching. Your shop was one of 20 I'd visited that month. But when you pushed back that money, when you explained why, that's when I knew. Knew what? That you had something most people lose somewhere along the way. You knew who you were and refused to compromise it, even when compromising would have been easier. That's the foundation of real success, Maya. Not intelligence, not education, not even opportunity. It's knowing who you are and staying true to it. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "You changed my life." "No, I gave you an opportunity." "You changed your own life by what you did with it. There's a difference." "What happens now?" Khalid's smile widened. "Now you're being promoted. Senior Director of Development. You'll oversee all our new construction projects in the Western United States. And we're doubling your salary." Maya actually laughed. "You're serious." "Always. You've earned it and more. But I have one condition." "What's that?" "Never forget where you came from. Not the coffee shop necessarily, but that moment when you chose principle over profit. That's what makes you valuable, Maya. The business world has enough people who'll compromise for money. It needs more people who won't." 5 years later, Maya stood in a different coffee shop, this one in San Francisco, waiting for her order. She was now a vice president at Al-Rahman Holdings, overseeing a portfolio worth over $1 billion. Her mother's health had stabilized with proper treatment. Maya had bought her a house, paid off all her own debts, and had more money than she'd ever imagined. The young barista, maybe 22, with nervous hands and tired eyes, carefully prepared her latte. Maya watched her add a small flourish to the foam, something she clearly didn't have to do. When the barista handed her the cup, Maya smiled. "This is beautiful. You have real skill." The girl blushed. "Thanks. I try to make each one special." Maya paid with a card, then paused. She pulled out a business card and wrote something on the back. "I'm always looking for talented people who take pride in their work," Maya said. "That's my direct number on the back. If you're ever interested in exploring other opportunities, give me a call." The barista stared at the card, then at Maya. "Are you serious?" "Completely. No pressure, no expectations. But if you want to talk about your future, I'm willing to listen." As Maya left the coffee shop, She felt Khalid's words echo in her mind. Never forget where you came from. She hadn't, and she never would, because she understood now what Khalid had known all along, that the measure of a person isn't in their worst moments of desperation, but in their best moments of integrity, that the choices we make when no one is watching define who we become when everyone is, and that sometimes the simple act of refusing a $100 tip isn't about the money at all. It's about refusing to compromise the one thing money can never buy: your sense of who you are and what you stand for. Maya had learned that lesson behind a coffee counter in Seattle, and it had changed everything. Not because a billionaire noticed her, but because she'd been worth noticing all along.